welcome back everybody to the Canberra Football Show, episode 26. Michael, thank you for joining me today. And how's it going before we get stuck into NPL1? A lot of fantastic goals to break down, might add.
Yeah, no, absolutely. There were some absolutely spectacular goals this past weekend, which we love to see. It seems as though they get better and better every week as well. And not only does the quality in the goals get better, but the actual number of goals increases as well. So we're getting a little bit spoilt with the amount of goals, quality goals that we're being accustomed to seeing over the last few weeks. But in particular, this past weekend was absolutely astounding to say the least. But in a more unrelated note, in terms of how I'm feeling great, Matt, and I'm sure you know why.
Here we go. I nearly cursed for the first time on this podcast. This is where I say I only watch Canberra NPL. Okay, I don't watch any pro football. Never have. Never have before.
Never will again.
Yeah, of course, you're referring to Inter winning their first league title, their first Scudetto since 2010. Yep. So I might as well say it now before everyone, every Inter fan I know watches the podcast from time to time. Congratulations, you. Congratulations, my brother Dan, Alex Belpiero, John Azalonado, any other Inter fans that I know that watch this? No, I'm not sure.
Too many to count.
Those four are the ones that I know off the top of my head, always talking to me that are Inter fans. So Congratulations, boys. That's it. I'm not saying it anymore.
Yeah,
so.
I got a best mate who goes for Inter, and my cousin also goes for Inter as well. So I was talking to my friend earlier about it this morning. I texted him first thing when I learned that we had obviously won the Scudetto. So no, it's good, especially considering, I don't see Man United winning a league title anytime soon. So it was good to see Inter be rewarded for their very consistent season.
Look, very well deserved, to say the least. Fantastic players, Barella, Lukaku has been fantastic.
Martinez, the list goes on.
And great to see Ericsson finally acclimatise into the thing. Now this makes me just want to do a European football podcast for
Yeah.
Say, hey, look, we'll see. Hey, we'll see what happens when the Euros comes around. We'll see what everyone's availability is like.
Absolutely.
In that regard. So let's get stuck right into NPL1. I'll tell you what, some of these goals, like I'm just about to mention now, Michael, were, like that sort of football quality level in that regard. So top football quality level. So Michael, what is, can you introduce the next matchup for us and I'll break it all down?
Absolutely. So we had West Canberra Wanderers pick up a fantastic win at home, winning 3-2 against Canberra Olympic, who were in some great form heading into this encounter with West Canberra Wanderers. Goals from Penner in the 26th minute, Fields 4 minutes before halftime, before Ospina Colorado scored in the 48th minute to put West Canberra Wanderers ahead, and that goal ultimately decided the contest. Canberra Olympics goal scorers were Rowan Jones and James within 3 minutes of each other. Matt, this was obviously a very close matchup. And I mean, there were some fantastic goals in this game as well. A great contest between these two teams that are, they've put on some fantastic showings so far this season. They've both proved to be underdog performers in terms of what I think the general public would have perceived them to be. But I mean, they've really turned the narrative in that way, even though it's really early in the season, especially West Canberra Wanderers. They're playing some fantastic football at the moment, and they've really turned heads over the last year or so. So how did you see this game playing out?
Yeah, I was watching this one while I was at work, so I was in and out of this one, and I was sort of going, "Oh, geez, what a goal! Oh, geez, what a goal!" Because it was just fantastic back and forth, especially in that first half. It's safe to say that West Canberra Wanderers probably dominated the majority of the second half, or at least the better of the chances. But in that first half, it was just back and forth, back and forth. Pena's goal was the long-range effort one. Absolutely terrific. If you blinked, you would have missed that one. And it was just perfect height the entire time. the keeper. There's no way Christus could have saved that one. That was an absolutely outstanding strike from Penner. And Ospina Colorado, I believe, is the one who scored the bicycle, the final goal of the match to start the second. What a way to start the second half. I mean, 2-2 going in, even as Stephen, as I'm sure some people say, and it was terrific. It was just an absolutely fantastic bicycle kick, and I must have missed it when I was at work because I went back to the phone and I just saw them sort of going like this, oh geez, because it just went over the line. It didn't completely hit the back of the net. So all I saw was, looking at the linesman, and then just there's one of these. So now no wonder why the celebration was just even more, because, not only was it the, in hindsight, the winning goal, but what a just terrific effort that was. Beautiful little nip up ball as well, to say the least. So Wanderers, Justus Silva, remember what he said to me the other week. He said, look, we don't like being that underdog role, and the only way we can change it is by putting on performances. That's 3 wins on the trot now. There's 3 wins on the trot, and I'll mention the latter a little bit later, but they're in second place right now. They were first before Canberra, Croatia got their victory against Monaro. So, yeah, perfect. After that loss to Yoogali at the start of the season, perfect 3 wins on the trot and playing very, very well, to say the least. Olympic will be a little disappointed because they, of course, go down after equalizing so quickly. Immediately after Rowan Jones, they equalized, get those 2 goals. I think they equalized and they went in front. Sorry to butcher that whole thing. In the space of 3 minutes, they did that. And then, 2 minutes later, Field scores to equalize it again to make it 2-2. They'll be a little disappointed after doing all the hard work so quickly in that regard. But they showed, but in terms of Olympic, I think the West Canberra Wanderers they're a similar team so far this season. They were both teams that everyone sort of wrote off at the start of the season in terms of challenging for the top. And now look at them, they're both near the top. I know it's still early days, but they both have the element of the unknown. They both work very, very hard on and off the ball. They both rely on their youth and their pace, to say the least. So Olympic were coming up against a similar match that they probably haven't faced so far this season, despite facing bigger name teams. So they're both similar in terms of play, character, philosophy in that regard. So while they lost this one, Olympic won't be looking at it as, this is the end of a run for them. They'll coming up against a side that was very similar to them in that regard. And this is, of course, Olympic before this round were the only undefeated team. Now there's no more undefeated teams in NPL1, level playing field in that regard. So very, very interesting to say the least. Do you have any thoughts on this one, Michael, before we move on?
I think more just on that last point that you just raised there, Matt. No undefeated teams in the competition already, which just speaks volumes of how competitive the competition is this season. All teams are in it, similar qualities, have the ability to beat each other on any given day, it speaks to the element of competition that we want to see each and every week. The ability to, have unpredictability in a way. You know what I mean? The competition is getting a lot more fierce, a lot more competitive. It's harder to call. And I mean, we talk about it all the time when we try to do our tipping. It's getting harder and harder every week, and it's going to get harder now that all the teams, there's no undefeated sides already.
It's good. It's good. It makes us
4 games in, so
it makes us look like those all those people that do it for like the NRL. They always do the tipping, and everyone's just doesn't get it right. That's what NPL1's like for us. We're very very low so far. We'll mention it a little bit later in that regard, but it's just so great to see how tight the competition is.
Yep.
All right, we ready to move on to the next one, Michael?
Yep.
All right, so we got Belconnen United 2, Tigers 2. Very interesting matchup. This one, Bailey and Flores with the goals for Belconnen United, and Popovic and Borgner with the goals for Tigers. Like I said, 2-2 draw. 2 late goals from Tigers FC, Michael, to stop Belconnen getting a victory in this one and making it a tie. What did you make of how this match played out?
Yeah, I think this definitely slipped out of the grasp of Belconnen United. What looked like a sure 3 points vanished in the space of a 5-minute period towards the end of the game. So just a little bit of game management issues there for Belconnen United in terms of not being able to hold on to that lead to see out and get the 3 points. But obviously, the first goal for Belconnen United through Bailey was a fantastic goal. Gets a bit of space, one-on-one with the defender before cutting in on his left foot. Waited a while to pull the trigger. It just looked like he was baiting the defender a little bit before he eventually slotted the ball in. And then it looked like I said, that they were on course to get 3 points when Flores managed to be at the right place at the right time to steer home a left-footed strike. But, I mean, with Tigers FC, this team can hit you at any point, given the abundance of quality that Ryan Grogan has at his disposal with the players that he's got. And that really shone through in the final 5 minutes of the contest when Nick Popovic scored a beautiful goal by dinking the ball over the keeper, and then Borgner scoring a penalty in the 3rd minute of stoppage time to get Tigers a point seemingly out of nothing. It looked like they were going to get absolutely nothing from the game, and they managed to steal a point, which I touched on before will be heartbreaking for Belconnen United, but in a way a positive for Tigers FC to take that out of the contest moving forward. I think Belconnen United had the better chances throughout the game. So again, that just adds to the disappointment factor that they couldn't get over the line to get the win there. But I mean, that just talks to the quality of Tigers FC, that they can be out of the game for a while, but they have the quality to hurt you at any moment, and that's certainly what they did to Belconnen United. So it was an entertaining draw, to say the least.
Yeah, look, it certainly was, and I guess I have to talk about that penalty. I was quite a few people actually. I was when I was at the Monaro game, quite a few people sort of came up to me and said, "Hey, what do you think about this one? What do you think about this one?" And I saw there was a bit of chatter online as well about the penalty. A little controversial to say the least.
We won't get into that.
In the last minute of in the match, and the reason why I say is only because I heard a bit of chatter about it, but. For Tigers, when it happened, you take it, because at the end of the day, you need to take as many points as you can in that regard. But it was well finished by Borgner, that penalty. I guess from Tigers' point of view, though, it's good to see them sort of come back from going down, because we've seen sort of the opposite. We saw the opposite last week against Tuggies, where Tuggies sort of came back.
Exactly.
When it looked like that Tigers had the game sealed. So a bit of a reverse fortune for them in that regard. Belconnen United, there's no doubt about it, they'll be disappointed that they didn't win this matchup, especially putting in such a great performance midweek against Canberra Croatia in the FFA Cup, where they took Canberra Croatia to extra time, let's not forget. So that it was a big week for them, and for them to get only one, for them not to get anything out of, relatively not get anything out of either of those games midweek, they would be absolutely crushed in that regard. But they would use all those positives and push it towards next week, where they incidentally face Canberra Croatia again, which we'll mention soon.
Mm-hmm.
But Tigers have yet to put in that sort of full performance. It would look like I was going to against Tuggeranong. I mean, I keep going back to their performance against Yoogali in the FFA Cup in the 4th round, but that was the best performance I've seen so far from Tigers. Full performance, completely nullified their opposition, looked deadly on the attack, very strong in defense. If they can replicate that sort of performance, they're going to be, game in, game out, or as frequently as they can. They're going to be near the top of this ladder by the end of the season. They're going to be in and around that top 4. So it's all about sort of culminating that whole performance for them. And they do have extra duty this week as they face Western Molonglo in the FFA Cup on Wednesday in the quarterfinals. So, but yeah, regardless, interesting matchup to say the least. Entertaining one, and a lot of people will talk about it afterwards. So, we ready to go on to the next one, Michael?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, Michael, it was an interesting matchup to say the least. Andy Bernal joined Russ Gibbs on commentary for this one from Riverside Stadium. Canberra Croatia 1, Monaro Panthers 0. Kishta with an absolute belter of a goal, to say the least. What'd you make of this one, Michael?
Yeah, you just summed it up really well there, Matt. The sole goal from Kishta in the first half in the 27th minute separated the two sides at Riverside Stadium. as Canberra Croatia moved back to the top of the NPL1 standings, because momentarily it was West Canberra Wanderers after their win over Canberra Olympic. But whilst Canberra Croatia got the victory there, it obviously resulted in Monaro slumping to their 4th defeat from their first 4 games this season. Don't think anyone could have predicted Monaro to have a worse start than what they've endured so far in the first 4 games of the season. There is a lot of high expectations given the quality of the squad. Frank Kasha and how he is as a coach, and the reputation that he has as a fantastic manager, to be able to galvanize his squad, and it speaks to the success that he's had in the past. So this is definitely something new that he's going through at the moment, or it's definitely something that he hasn't experienced in a while. Certainly not in NPL1 managerial positions, that's for sure. So it's time for Monaro to really get back into things, take a good look in the mirror, to try and turn things around. They just, like I mentioned, when we previously, it's all about sort of just getting that monkey off your back, because it's very hard to build confidence when you're just losing week after week. Monaro just need to get that first victory under their belts, and it will give them a world of confidence. I think this squad is still obviously gelling. They're trying to fit different players and pieces around the pitch to fit Frank's ideal team and their best system. I think it's obvious that they're trying to mix things around. It's obvious that things aren't working so far, but we hopefully that will change. That narrative will change in the next coming weeks, depending on who they play. But they really need to turn their season around. And obviously, for Canberra Croatia's perspective, they got a it was a good bounce back win for them after they lost to West Canberra Wanderers previously. They were missing a lot of players, but they came back and they did exactly what they needed to do, which was just to turn up to Riverside and do whatever they needed to do in order to get the 3 points, which they did.
Yeah, but despite the loss, I do think this was a much better performance from Monaro.
Most definitely.
In that regard, they did have that massive confidence boost, Michael. Let's not forget midweek beating Wagga 12-0 in the FA Cup. And you saw...
I was talking more from a NPL1 perspective, but that result, obviously, in the Cup was huge for them.
And you could see in the reactions whenever they scored. Didn't matter how many they were putting past, you could see how elated they were that they were putting in this sort of string of performance. Despite the loss, I talked to a few people in and around Monaro, and despite the loss, they were annoyed that they lost, but there's the confidence and the morale's a lot better than, let's say, it was after when they lost to West Canberra Wanderers, for example, because they put in a much better performance. I would say, I'm sure you'd agree, Michael, they play with a lot more intensity.
Absolutely.
They moved the ball a lot quicker, which was important. It's one thing, and the midfield runners tracked their runners a lot better than they did, for example, against Belco, which Russ mentioned about the defending last week on the show. And I think really Sam Rossbach can help that. He returned in midfield this week. That's a big plus for him. I know he's been playing fullback he definitely played fullback last season. He's played it at the start of this season as well. But he's mainly been a midfielder for them first. So for him to go back there as a midfielder, a lot of intensity. I saw on their Facebook page, he was named their man of the match. But he's a lot of intensity, a lot of energy, a lot of creativity as well. He'll track your markers all day long. And I think that was important for him returning the midfield was important for Monaro to have a solid performance in the midfield in that regard. And Deacon, despite the positive performance from Monaro probably had some of their better chances in the later half of the match. For Monaro, they had their best chances in the later half of the match. They had 2 really good ones as well near the end. But in terms of Deacon, I think they had their chances to go up, to be fair, 2-3-0 in that first half. Especially there was that second minute one where Kishter, I believe it was, hit the crossbar, came in, cut in, hit the crossbar. And despite how well Monaro played, they could have been done and dusted if Canberra Croatia went up 2-0 straight away. So Deacon definitely had their chances, but this is always sort of Deakin recently have come away with the win at Riverside, but it's always that bogey in terms of Monaro always put up their better performances against Deakin. We saw it last year where Deakin just scored in the last minutes. It's always a tough match, this one for Deakin. So for Deakin to come away with the win, like you said, to do what they need to do, it was important for them. Monaro, I would look upon how positive they played. They played, like I said, more intensity, quicker, moved the ball quicker, and created more chances in that second half. So for them, they got to look to that. But Gangala next week, it's difficult to tell. We'll mention this a bit later, but it's going to be difficult to tell in that one. But hey, they've got more positive momentum. And if everyone keeps beating everyone, all Monaro need is something like 2 wins, like I'm going to mention to do with the ladder. And they'll be right back at it. And that goes for Tuggeranong as well, who haven't won a game yet so far in this competition either. We mentioned that, Michael, but as of this recording, when it goes up tomorrow, Tuggeranong will be playing Yoogali United at the AIS since they travelled to Yoogali in the FFA Cup. So let's get straight into the predictions, Michael. Canberra, Croatia, Belconnen United, massive one. Prime time, Saturday night, Saturday, May 8th, 6:25 p.m. at Deakin Stadium. If anyone's free, go down there, get a crow pack, get a Kransky, enjoy the football under the lights for what should be a competitive rematch of their midweek FFA Cup matchup. This is going to be such a tough matchup to call. I'm going to base this purely off momentum and go with Canberra, Croatia. Not an easy call. I think it's going to be a lot closer than if people just look at the results and haven't followed the games might think. But yeah, it was a very close matchup midweek, and Canberra, Croatia ended up coming away with a victory in the end. And things just haven't gone the way of Belconnen those last 2 matches. And I just think they'll put up a very, very good fight, but I think Deakin will just nip it in the end. I don't know whether it'll be a late goal or something like that, but I just think it's going to be a very, very close matchup with Croatia just edging it. You, Michael?
Yeah, I'm going to go for a Canberra, Croatia victory at home. You got to start saying that, Matt, or else we're going to get in trouble. So yeah, I'm purely basing it off momentum as well. I think Canberra, Croatia have still proven to be the best side in the competition. They obviously have that, that edge over Belconnen United already, based on previous results. So it's going to be a tough game. It's definitely going to be a cracking game for a Saturday night as well. That's definitely one that you want to get down and watch. 2 quality sides going at it. But I definitely think the momentum of Canberra, Croatia, having got that win over Monaro, that one hiccup against West Canberra, I think maybe internally with that team, they can say they can put an asterisk on that because they did have a fair few players missing. But because they know with the full squad, they're a very tough team to beat and they're the best team in the competition. So although it's going to be close, I do see Canberra, Croatia winning this game by maybe a goal or 2.
And next up, Gungahlin United, Monaro Panthers, Sunday, May 9th, 3 p.m. at AIS Grassfield 2. I'm going to
say it. I'm going to go for Monaro win.
You're going to break the mold, are you?
I'm going for Monaro Panthers to get their first win of the season. I think, like you touched on, they had a lot of positives to take out of that encounter with Canberra, Croatia. It was a very close game. They had a couple of chances actually at the end to draw, to get an equaliser to come away with the draw, but that wasn't meant to be the case. But it looks as though that they're slightly getting better and better every week. They obviously had the big win in the FFA Cup before their loss to Canberra, Croatia. I do expect them to actually have a very good game against Gungahlin United, and I think that they'll actually come away with it with an away victory that will kickstart their season.
Yeah, look, I think regardless whether they get a draw, let's just say if they get a draw or a win, any sort of points on the board will kickstart their season. Look, this is a difficult one because if Monaro, obviously, if they lose this, that'll be 5 in a row. And that's sort of unwanted pressure. You don't want that pressure as a coach, as a player, as a board member, as a sponsor. Regardless, you don't want that sort of pressure. Now, this one's also difficult to tell because we haven't seen Gungahlin play yet. Of course, they played tonight as this is airing on Facebook. And I did say if Gungahlin play like they did in that last half an hour against Olympic, If they can put that together for 90 minutes, they're going to be near the top. So the issue for them is they haven't been able to put it together a whole 90-minute performance like that the whole season. But neither have but Monaro, this is going to be difficult. I don't know what to go with this one. But I have to choose one, don't I? So this is going to be the hardest one to do. I'm going to go with Gungahlin. It's going to be very, very close. But from what I saw that last half an hour, I don't think any team has impressed me in that span of time this season like Gungahlin has. Just the way they play, the way they defend in that whole 30 minutes. If they can put that into 90 minutes, I fancy them a lot. But so it just depends. Like I said, if we saw the Gungahlin Tigers match before we did this, it'd be a little easier I feel like it'd be a little easier to predict. So I'm just going on a whim and I'm going to say Gungahlin, but that's not to say that Monaro can't get their first points. They had a very positive performance against Canberra, Croatia. So that was a difficult one. So let's move on to another difficult one. Tuggeranong United against West Canberra Wanderers, Sunday, May 9th, 3 p.m. at Canberra 201. Look, West Canberra Wanderers, once again, it's another difficult one to say because we haven't seen Tuggeranong play yet from this previous round, Michael. But I think it's tough to deny West Canberra Wanderers recently. Just the performances have put in, the way they've played. It's just going to be. I know Tuggeranong United had their number last year, and that's when Tuggeranong United were in their spell of. Tuggeranong United are like these other teams. When you give them a win, once they get that win under the board, they go on a good run themselves, and they're still looking for that first one, which could come as of Tuesday. As we are recording, for all we know. But look, I think it's West Canberra Wanderers have just been too positive to deny. Nothing against Tuggeranong. I just think they're just too positive to deny at the moment. But like I said, that's not to say Tuggeranong can't get something from this. They'll probably be the underdogs in this one, which is interesting considering where they've been over the last couple of seasons. But yeah, so in saying that though, when Tuggeranong do get their first victory, I think they'll have a bit of a steam of momentum. But unfortunately for them, I don't think it'll be this matchup. Like I said, West Canberra Wanderers too positive recently to deny. Michael?
Yeah, I'm going to go for a West Canberra Wanderers win as well. I'm going to hop aboard the West Canberra hype train. Given how well they're playing at the moment, 3 wins on the bounce, and I expect them to continue that and make it 4. They're playing with a lot of confidence. Ulysses has got them playing some great football. So I expect them to come away from Canberra with all 3 points, all aboard the West Canberra hype train. Let's go.
All right. Tigers against Olympic, Sunday, May 9th, 3 p.m. at Nijong Oval.
This is tough.
This is another tough one. I'm going to go with a draw purely because Tigers, like I said when we wrapped up their matchup, they haven't put in that sort of performance that we saw for the whole 90 minutes. Like whether they're winning, but I guess the positive for them is whether they're winning to start the match or they're losing to start the match. They haven't lost since that first match against Canberra, Croatia, who currently lead the table. So they won and they've gotten 2 draws since. So they got the know-how to whether they go down to sort of find a result, or if they're losing the momentum near the match, they're not going to let the whole result slip. And I think that's important against the Olympic team that we all know is going to push and pretty good defensively on their own turf. I think this could be a back and forth one. I think there could be a lot of goals in this one, but I'm going to go for a draw in this one purely because Tigers just haven't lost these sort of matches, but they haven't really won them either recently. And Olympic, we all know, can score. They can come down from behind. So I'm going to so it's going to be interesting to see, because if Olympic can stay up, like if they can go up early, Tigers don't give up as we saw recently. Yep. So I'm going to go for a draw. I think that's a safe bet for me, but we'll wait and see. Actually, no, I can't say that. Nothing's a safe bet so far.
Nothing's a safe bet. Nothing at all. I'm going to go for a Tigers win. I was contemplating a draw as well, Matt. Obviously, it's a very tough game to call given how both sides have started the season. We didn't obviously expect a lot from Canberra Olympic, but they're playing fantastically well. And maybe Tigers FC have fallen a little behind the eight ball to start the season, but nevertheless, they're still a very good side. I think they'll take a lot of confidence nipping those 2 late goals against Belconnen United, and I expect them to take that and carry that over into the Canberra Olympic game. So I'm going to go for a home win at Nigel Oval for the hosts.
All right. Now moving on to NPL2, another massive weekend of action. 2 of the teams that hadn't got a win yet in NPL2. Michael, kick us off in this round. So what was that? What was that one? If you want to introduce it, I'll give everybody the laydown.
Absolutely. Let's get into it. So we had Western Molonglo get a victory over Wagga City Wanderers, 3-1. On the score sheet for Western Molonglo was Reckford, Sellers, and Mander. For the away side, it was Jenkins. A great win for Western Molonglo. We talked about previously how important it was for them to get a victory in this one, and they definitely delivered on that to get the 3 points, scoring 3 goals at home as well, which is always an added bonus. This is obviously their first win of the season. They'll be buzzing after that performance, especially since, I mentioned they scored 3 goals. They needed the win. They kept it pretty strong defensively as always, and Reckford scored a terrific goal as well, Matt. So do you want to get into this encounter?
Yeah, it was interesting one to say this. Like you said, it was an important one for both sides. Of course, Wagga coming off that not so flattering loss in midweek, but credit to them. They came out. They knew that defensively it hasn't worked out for them this season, so they just tried to go and push forward, and they scored their first goal of the campaign. So credit to them. From all accounts, they did push forward quite a bit, and they just tried to focus on their attacking side, knowing that the defensive side hasn't worked so far this season. Western Molonglo, though, Amanda, their new signing, finding the score sheet. Sellers, Reckford scoring again this week. Sellers scoring as well. And very positive for Western Molonglo. I heard their Reckford's goal was also a terrific strike, I was told. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to see footage of it, but caught a left foot volley just outside the box and hit the top left corner. So how about that one?
Ooh,
hopefully we can catch.
Yeah.
Hopefully someone has the footage of that. They can send us. That'd be a fantastic one to see. What was positive for Western Molonglo was the chances they created. Being able to score more than 1 goal. We've talked about it. Russ talked about it last week, how they weren't able to score too much in the previous matches, but this one they were able to score more than 1, Michael, which I think is a massive positive for them. Albushi, who's been injured for a little bit, came on, played the last 8 minutes, I believe, of this one. He still won't be fully fit for a couple of weeks, but his creativity is going to be important for the big matches. I mentioned Amanda scoring. That's important because Ned Jeans keeps telling me how massive a signing that's going to be for them. He's very, very high on him. So he's sort of been not fully fit so far to start this season. So to score his first goal in competitive play is positive for him. So very, very positive for Western Molonglo heading forward. They'll be looking to build off this momentum. And in terms of Wagga, it's like we've mentioned, it's going to be tough. It's been tough for them this season, but I think what's positive for them is they got a goal on the score sheet. And we mentioned this about West Canberra Wanderers last year. They finally got a goal. It was uphill from them. So Wagga are going to be looking at a sort of similar at it, saying, all right, we scored a goal. Let's move forward. We know it's not always going to be great for us defensively, considering just the attacking prowess of a lot of these sides that they're going to be facing. But let's build on it. We got that goal. Let's move forward. Let's continue to stay positive. Any thoughts before we move on, Michael?
No, I think I touched on it there that it's a great win for them. Obviously, their first of the season to get 3 goals at home as well. So fantastic for Western Molonglo, most definitely. All
right. And next up, we had the Brindis, who went down to O'Connor Knights 2-1. McCarran and Zygmunt. McCarran once again on the score sheet for O'Connor Knights, like he was last week or the week before. And the Brindis, Schaefer once again, you're going to mention how his goal scoring prowess in this one, Michael, but very tight matchup from what I was told in this one. How did it play out?
Yeah, it was a good comeback victory from O'Connor Knights after going down 1-0 to, like you mentioned, Schaefer's goal. They played They also played the majority of the second half after Jake Wilsner got a straight red card. So good steal from O'Connor as a whole to fight and keep a lead against a persistent and intense Brindabella side whilst a man down. You'll take 3 points like that any day. So it's a great rugged win for them. So for Brindabella, once again, they've shown they can compete and make life difficult for these big sides in the competition. They had their chances in the matchup, and they probably should feel that they should have got something from the matchup. I think considering they had the man advantage, they'll look back on it as a real missed opportunity to at least come away with a point. But they were unable to come away with the man advantage. But one positive that they can take so far this season is Curtis Schaefer. I mean, he's on the score sheet again. He takes his goal tally up to 7 goals in 4 games. So he's on a great trajectory to, score a whole heap of goals this season in NPL2 as the competition's current top scorer.
Yeah, look, he's been very, very positive. And I think it's only a matter of time before the Brindis get an upset victory over one of the big sides. They've really been pushing them this season. It wasn't meant to be today. They did get a second yellow, though. They did get a second yellow and a red. I wasn't able to confirm the time, though, there on that one. So I'm not sure how long that man advantage was for. But there were a few players out for O'Connor.
Right, so was it a straight red or was it a second yellow?
No, I meant this is Brindy's got a second yellow and a red. So I'm not sure how long the O'Connor had that.
How long they had the man advantage for.
Yeah, so I'm not too sure. I wasn't able to confirm that one.
Yeah.
Wasn't able to find out the timing on that one anyway. But in terms of O'Connor, they'll be very happy to come back, like you said. But I had quite a few players missing as well, I was told, such as Walsh, Yadrich, Graham, Rutherford, and Cosentini. So they'll be looking at it as not only was it a good comeback victory, but let's not forget they did go down to White Eagles last week, their arch rivals. So it was important for them to get back on the board and get back to winning ways in that regard. So credit to O'Connor Knights for that comeback victory moving forward. But I think it's only a matter of time before the Brindis get an upset victory over one of the big boys. And there's a long way to go in that regard. What's our next matchup, Michael? Big result.
Massive result. Probably the biggest result of the 3 competitions this weekend. We definitely didn't expect it, that's for sure. Considering
I think we both said a draw.
Yeah.
So it shows how much we know.
Yeah. Reading out the results going to make us look really silly, isn't it? But Queanbeyan City.
No, not too bad in NPL2. We'll say that for later, but we did all right in NPL2 this week.
Yeah, well, that's always a positive considering we're not so great at NPL1, but we won't get into that too much. We'll get into this. Queanbeyan City, 7-0 winners over Canberra White Eagles. What a result for Gabby Wilkes' team. The scorers in this one, Tomeski, Cullen Rua's own goal, Ponce with a penalty, Adams with 2, but another one from the spot, Keita and Makevsky. What a fantastic performance from Queanbeyan City. A very, very impressive performance. The most dominant performance so far in NPL2 this season. We thought it was going to be a cagey affair. We thought it was going to be close. We thought the whole narrative of the rivalry would have made this a real cagey affair, but that did not go to plan. Queanbeyan City said, no, scrap that. We're going to go out and absolutely let loose. And that's what they did, didn't they, Matt?
Look, I'll tell you what, it just seemed like not only was the statement victory, it seemed like they had something to prove after going down to ANU, despite ANU setting up perfectly for that matchup. I think for Queanbeyan not to get on the scoreboard, at least in that matchup, they would have been furious with. So they clearly came out here with an absolute point to prove. And I was able to catch the last 30 minutes, actually, of this matchup. I was able to catch the last 30 minutes. And I'll tell you what, it's not a flattering word to use to describe it, but the last 30 minutes, they were just literally smothering White Eagles. It was that intense. And 2 of them were penalties. 2 of the goals were penalties, but that just showed how much they were pressuring that attack. They were just going for it. They didn't stop whatsoever. Didn't give White Eagles much time on the ball from what I saw, and the Wilkes will be very, very happy with this performance. Queanbeyan City, very, very impressive, and apparently there was some great goals in it as well for them. This is the perfect response to losing last week, I would say, Michael, in that regard. White Eagles, though, it's going to be difficult for them to put this one behind them. Not only was it just such a heavy defeat, but to do it against your rivals, Queanbeyan City, as well, does not help. I'm sure will be working a lot with the group midweek to try and rectify this result next week. But regardless, it just wasn't the best week for White Eagles. You can't really sugarcoat it. They were just played off the park by Queanbeyan City, especially in that second half. It was only 2-0 at halftime, and after halftime, you come out in the second half saying we can probably get something from this, but it just wasn't meant to be. Immediately, Queanbeyan City were just all over them in that second half, and for White Eagles, it's going to be interesting because they're playing Yoogali. So that's going to be an interesting one. Both coming off losses, but Yoogali, of course, still coming off that high of that victory against Tuggeranong United midweek, Michael. So it's going to be some interesting matches this week. But Queanbeyan City, wow, that's all I got to say. Just wow, really, really big statement victory here, Michael. All right, so next matchup, Michael, Yoogali 2, ANU 4. I Donadell and M Donadell with the goals for Yoogali. ANU, Hines, Carters with 2, and Twyford. Another big victory for ANU, considering they went on the road in this one. Let's not forget Yoogali were backing up 2 days before, though, with that victory against Tuggeranong United on the Friday night in the FFA Cup with Russ. Did you see that one sitting on the top of sitting on top of the ute? Him and I, for the Coomber game, were standing on the back of the ute. So that's why I found this one funny, because he wasn't standing on the back, but he was just sitting on top of it with reporter there, Liam Mason. He's a journalist, I believe, in the area. Good article from him. I saw his one as well on about the matchup. So how did this one play out? Big win for ANU.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, if you want to catch the Yoogali home games in NPL2, you can do so by visiting their Facebook page. If you ever want to watch NPL2 competition, because we know we're obviously not accustomed. Well, we're not accustomed. That's not the right word to use. We don't have the availability and the sources to view NPL2 competition. So if you do want to ever get a chance to watch NPL2, you can do that for Yoogali when they play their home games against other NPL2 competitions. So I thought I'd just get that out of the way first before getting into this, because I think it's important. Yoogali took an early lead in what was, a back and forth start to the match. They obviously came in with a lot of confidence, having beat Tuggeranong United in the FFA Cup. ANU immediately went level and then took the lead just before half time. Yoogali continued to push forward, and despite going 3-1 down, they made it 3-2, then had a penalty opportunity to go level, and they missed the opportunity. So they rued that massively as ANU went on to win, obviously. It's an important win for ANU to back up their massive result, as you spoke about last week against Queanbeyan, and as you discussed with their coach as well. They showed they can react well and quick if they go behind. Yoogali will feel a little disappointed considering the penalty opportunity to draw it level, and they missed that. However, they still showed that they have the same quality as last season when they have a full strength squad. So, they did have to play 2 days beforehand, and that could take a bit of a toll on the body. It was a massive effort to come away with a fantastic victory against Tuggeranong in the FFA Cup, and they just weren't able to get their legs underneath them 48 hours later against ANU. But you still have to give them massive credit for the effort that they still put in and how close they were to getting a result.
Yeah, and they kept fighting back as well in this matchup, despite going down to ANU. They didn't give up constantly once ANU took the lead. And I think you mentioned that there, and that was Luke Santolin's quote in the article from Mason in the Griffith around the Riverina area, about saying that we knew these 2 days were going to be near impossible to try and get full results, but they nearly did it. So he was proud of his boys in that regard. ANU though will feel like they could have buried the game earlier. But it was a great. They went up early, like you said, but it was. I thought it was a great response that once they went equal level, immediately, boom, immediately ANU have stopped that from being, a draw. Like it was only a couple of minutes later, I was able to catch a good amount of this game. Very good football from both sides. ANU, yeah, like I said, they'll probably feel like they should have tried to bury the game earlier. I know they probably felt the same against. They actually felt the same. I'm sure they would have felt the same against sort of Wagga as well. But that sort of proves that that's a little scary to see that there's even more to this ANU side, Michael. That the fact that they feel like they should have been burying these games earlier, even when you just look at the 4-2 result or you look at the 4-0 result against Wagga, they feel like they could have tried. They will want to try and bury these games earlier. That proves that there's still a lot more to come from this ANU side, and they're definitely going to be up. They're top of the NPL2 table now, Michael, and I'll tell you what, they should be there in and around by the end of the season. I know it's a long one, but they've by far, on both sides of the ball, they've been the most impressive side this season. Copped a few goals here against Yoogali, but we've seen when Yoogali have a full squad, they're full strength, they're very, very hard to deny goals to. But you mentioned there the missed opportunity penalty. Yoogali will feel a little disappointed. They could have made that 3-3. When I was, I know you mentioned that, but that was something I feel like I had to sort of reiterate, because when I was watching that, I'm like, oh no. In terms of Yoogali's perspectives, that sort of proves how close they were to doing what they wanted to do. But credit to Yoogali, they put up a good fight. ANU will be very, very happy to get that big win on the board. Now let's see how Yoogali travels next week. I'm intrigued to see that one. We're going to mention that coming up. But I think before we move to the predictions, Michael, I guess we should also say that this is the second week now, or at least in the Canberra matches, that there's only been one official in the middle for the NPL2. There haven't been any linesmen provided for the last 2 rounds. I didn't mention it last week because I thought it was just a long weekend thing. So it's probably something worth mentioning when people show up to see the NPL2 matches. Not the most ideal, but I hear there is a shortage of refs as well. A lot of refs didn't re-register this season. So there's a bit of a shortage in that regard. For the NPL competitions, I know NPL youth have had a few issues there as well. So hopefully that situation can improve and they're able to get some of the refs that weren't able to re-register back on board, because, we hate to see people talking about, those sort of issues.
Most definitely.
So hopefully that, sort of situation. We can get
some more referees in and around the game to really sort of bulk those numbers up, so that, all these different levels of football can have those areas covered with referees, and you're not having this constant worry of, will you have a referee this week or not? We all hear that it's a tough gig, but it's a great experience at the same time as well, to be able to referee at that level as well. And it's all about helping the community as well, most definitely.
So if you want to ref, get out and ref. I know there's a whole process into getting there, but get out and ref.
Hashtag get out and ref.
All right, heading into the predictions. So let's quickly mention how we went in NPL1 first. So I forgot to mention this in our NPL1 one, Michael. Very close between you and I. The overall ladder, 5-4, me on top. You have made a comeback after getting a 0 last week. You won this round, 2-1. Remember, 2 out of 3. 1 out of 3 for me, considering we didn't have that other matchup. So you're closing it in, Michael. You're closing it in. NPL2, we both had the same predictions last week. So 3-3. It looks like we both went, we both said we'd either die together or live up the hype together. So we did that this week. So the ladder is 11, me and you with 10 overall. So between us, we've had better luck predicting NPL2 and W so far this season.
Yep.
All right, so let's get into this round and let's see how this one goes for us this week. Brindabella Blues and UFC should be very, very interesting, but I think first it's Saturday, May 8th, 3 p.m. Ipen Park. That's in Corwell. It's going to be a very close one, I think, this one as well, but I think ANU have just been too positive so far this season. I know I said Brindabella will eventually cause some upsets, but I don't think it's going to come at the expense of ANU this week. ANU are just on a roll at the moment on both sides, defensively and attacking wise so far. And we have seen when they do concede a couple of goals, immediately they make that comeback to score. I'm going to go with ANU. How about you, Michael?
Well, I think for the sake of being different, I'm going to go for a draw.
All right.
Just to see the progression of Brindy, and we discussed how we expect them to cause a few upsets this season and send a few shockwaves through the NPL2 competition. I definitely think that they can do that this weekend against ANU. We talk about the ability of Curtis Schaefer up front, 7 goals in 4 games. He's the competition's top scorer, so you can't hide that fact. He'll definitely play an influence, and I definitely think they can come away with a draw in this one. I think ANU won't be entirely pleased with how they performed against Yoogali. But in saying that, I think it's going to be a draw.
Yeah, look, I wouldn't put those sort of possibilities out of the realm so far. ANU, we should also mention, is the only undefeated team left in this competition, and only the third undefeated team out of all 3 of the senior comps, along with Canberra, Croatia women's and Belconnen, women's as well. So, like I said, not impossible result to get. I just think ANU are just on too much of a roll at the moment for me. Next up, O'Connor Knights, Western Molonglo, Saturday, May 8th, 3 p.m. at K-Leaning, closed. Positive win for Western Molonglo. O'Connor Knights should get a couple of people back that they missed this week as well, but they're able to get that crucial win against the Brindies. I'm going to go for O'Connor Knights here. Might be a little closer than we think, but I still think in the big matches, Albushi is going to be key for Western Molonglo in terms of creating more chances. Western Molonglo just need to try and not be on the back foot immediately. For them to get a result here, they need to make sure they don't get on the back foot immediately and try and score first as well for momentum purposes. I'm going to go with O'Connor here. How about you, Michael?
I'm going to go for O'Connor as well, Matt, to go off the back of their victory, their rugged victory as well. So I expect them to come back fit and sharp against Western Molonglo and get the victory there at home.
And next up, we have White Eagles, Yoogali, Saturday, May 8th, 3 p.m. at Woden Park enclosed. Go down and get yourself an Eagle burger if you have never had one before, as Russ would say.
Really good.
Michael
really
knows
good.
all about those, being a former White Eagles player himself. So, look, I'm going to go for a draw in this one. I just want what sort of response are both teams going to have? White Eagles, especially after that sort of defeat, like we mentioned, not only is that a defeat, it's easy to say it's one match, but it is against your rivals, like you've mentioned. So it's very tough. Let's see how they back up. But Yoogali as well, I think they're going to have something to prove after nearly doing, a near impossible task of winning both those matches so close, and 2 big matches as well. So let's see how they go. And let's not forget this was an affair last year when they played twice, once in the semis, once in the league, Michael. They were high scoring matches. One of them was like 6-4. So we very well could see something similar this week, but I'm going to go for a draw. I just think these 2 teams always, it's going to be a goal fest, but I'm intrigued to see how both sides react after both their losses this week. You, Michael?
Yeah, this will solely depend on it, I think, of how White Eagles bounce back after that horror defeat. But it also makes it a little more difficult to predict, given how Yoogali have performed in their last 2 games, which is very encouraging signs. Obviously, getting the win over Tuggeranong United and coming ever so close to getting something from the ANU game. I'm going to go for... Pains me to say it. I think Yoogali is going to win.
Here we go. glad to see you not showing your bias from your former playing days for White Eagles, Michael. Great to see.
I just have to keep it neutral.
All right, next up.
They don't pay my bills no more. So.
So next up, we've got Queanbeyan City, Wagga City Wanderers, Saturday, May 8th, 3:15 at High Street. And yeah, I forgot to mention as well, High Street was absolutely packed this week for that matchup as well. Probably the most loyal faithful in that regard in the NPL2 in terms of big attendances there for Queanbeyan City. I'm sure they'll be looking to get a similar one this weekend. Look, I'm going to say it's going to be tough for Wagga once again. Queanbeyan City, I think, are going to have this one. Wagga will, in terms of them, they'll be looking to take that, that the positive of the goal and move forward. But it's safe to say they're probably the underdogs in this one. Michael, you?
Yeah, I think Queanbeyan City are strong favourites in this one. I mean, it's a difficult situation for Wagga City Wanderers to come into, where they're going to be playing a team that has just come off beating one of the top sides in the competition 7-0. Their confidence is at an all-time high. They bounced back in the most perfect way after losing to ANU the week before. I expect Queanbeyan to carry that momentum over and get a win.
And that's it for us today. But as we recorded this, we realized, all right, we're going to be going a lot longer than we usually do, because we had two special guests on our NPL recording before this, and that was Jeremy Magan of Bar TV and Capital Football, and former Tuggeranong United coach Michael Aldred. So yeah, we went longer than we thought we did, but there was some great conversation in there, some great discussion. Michael, as we all know, has a brilliant football mind, and he brought some great back and forth with Jeremy as well. So we decided, let's spice it up this week. So today we have NPL 1 and 2 reviews, and tomorrow, as in Wednesday, we'll be premiering our NPLW special preview. So we decided to change it up this week, considering we had the special guests on the show, which is it's always good to spice it up a bit, Michael, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think having those two on, I mean, we've had Jeremy on prior. We know what sort of knowledge and background that he has in the women's game here in Canberra. He's a character as well. He's always a good person to talk to in regards to football here in the ACT. And having Michael Aldred on was fantastic. I mean, he was a part of that Tuggeranong United setup for 5 years. Obviously it didn't go the way that he thought and the way that he wanted it to, having parted ways with the club. But I guess to have him on and give him the opportunity to discuss the women's game and his thoughts and feelings on different topics was certainly an eye-opener. And it's something that I hope that we can do again with him in the future. And hopefully it's a catalyst for getting more personalities that have coached in the past or that are going to be coaching in the future or that are coaching right now. So we're always looking to expand in that facet and always looking to bring new eyes to the platform. So it was fantastic having those two guys on.
As you will see tomorrow.
Yes.
As you'll see tomorrow, Wednesday on Facebook. So yeah, look, that was great. Michael's great. Jeremy's great. So yeah, a little bit of an NPLW special there, of course. Needed the extra time because we, of course, discussed the big the big move of Michelle Heyman to see. The reason why I said Michael, you'll see this tomorrow. Michael Aldred, Michael Georgeski. We're constantly saying Michael. I said it so much the previous hour before this that I nearly botched that completely there. So my apologies. You'll see a bit of banter of that tomorrow. But yeah, Michelle Heyman going to Gungahlin United in the NPLW. Huge for the game here in Canberra. And great for the aspiring young girls as well watching, and great for the young girls that are currently playing in the team to play with such a great former Matilda, and to play against such a great former Matilda as well. Not a lot of people in the W League. Not a lot of people.
Record goal scorer as well.
It's not a lot of people in this league have had the opportunity to play against or with her. So
Yep.
it's a great opportunity, and we'll go in depth tomorrow for it. So, Michael, great two parts. This is part A. So great 2 parts episodes this week. A lot of great discussion, and this is the platform moving forward, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. It was fantastic. Pleasure as always.
100%. And thank you very much, everybody. This was episode 26, round 4 review, part A. Thank you.